Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we are going to let our guests introduce themselves to you, dear listener, dear viewer at home. And since I know how to use the alphabet I learned last week, we're going to start with Mr. Dungeon Ducky.
Okay.
So who are you? What do you do?
I'm a librarian and I write books in my spare time.
Ooh, a librarian. That's cool. Law library, regular library, medical library?
Regular downtown librarian. Yeah, I can't specify anymore.
No, you're fine. I just know the different types of librarians have different skill sets they bring to the table.
Are like uptown librarians better, or how's that work?
I mean, uptown girls are okay, so I guess uptown librarians must be.
According to Billy Joel, they are.
I think this is the first time Billy Joel gets to be a hashtag.
I don't know. I'd say our clientele is more how do I say this in a polite manner?
Urban?
Well, not just displaced persons.
Oh.
Yeah, I had the Narcan guy not too long ago, so that was a fun experience.
Displaced how?
Individuals. No, here we go. Here's the official term: individuals experiencing homelessness. That's what we.
No. You can't say homeless anymore. It's unhoused.
Unhoused.
No, fucking bums.
Well, what we state is experiencing homelessness.
Hobos.
Yeah.
You got to get on the train for hobos.
Not necessarily.
They had the cool bag on a stick, right? And they made excellent Halloween costumes as a kid.
Yeah, oh man, I was a hobo for like 3 years in a row because it was the easiest Halloween costume.
Oh, I cheated. I went as Zorro because you just had to get like black pants, a white shirt, and like the little black ribbon tie thing, and then take a stick, paint it. You've got a sword, your red towel as a cape. You were good to go. I was all about DIY Halloween costumes because it was just more fun than the store-bought crap.
I went to school once as Stevie Wonder. They did not appreciate my costume.
You can afford store.
All right, next we have Mr. Isaac Kraft. Can you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers at home?
Hello, I'm Isaac Kraft. I write science fiction and fantasy with horror elements. And I'm a graphic designer and illustrator on the side.
What do you design and illustrate?
I do a lot of book covers. But I'm not doing that with working in digital Procreate. I also work with markers and rulers and scissors and cardstock.
So what you actually should have said, which would have been cooler, is like, schematics for the CIA so we can bomb the appropriate people. Something like that would have been funny. I mean, you were an author, sir. Get creative. Make it up. Stabby's giving us the no-go. Back up, Stabby.
You remember the last time you mentioned the CIA, dude.
They never fuck with your shit. They always mess with my computer.
Okay.
Leave the secret calls out of this.
Agencies. Stabby is speechless. I didn't think that was possible. I'm going to get the talking to afterwards. I can just feel it now. All right, and last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Michael Lavoie.
Hey, I'm Michael Lavoie, author of Galaxy's Most Wanted 4-book series, available at Amazon.com. I am also working on a new series called Gladius Leagues. It's an alien invasion with a twist. I hang out a lot on the Discord server at Three Ravens, which is where I primarily do my sprinting in the mornings. Cool bunch of folks. And I'm just generally a geek at large and self-proclaimed king of the nerds.
Given that none of us are army fit anymore, when we say sprinting now, we just mean with words and art. Because
only the fingers. Only the fingers.
After that other nonsense.
No.
But today I'm still army fit.
I don't even run when chased, and since I bought my pistols and other things, I'm no longer chased. So,
I used to have a collection of those, but tragic boating accident.
I've heard that happens a lot.
You know what? I bet it's those water monsters. They want to be armed too.
That's it. That's exactly right. Nessie needs a shotgun.
I mean, who doesn't? It's possible.
590
All right. Ducky, this is your first time on the show, so before we get started, we do have to ask you the religion questions. It's sort of a rite of passage around here. Are you ready for this? All right. Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
Star Wars all the way. No contest. I don't care. I die on this hill.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you hung out with the 501st? You get extra points for that.
No. I
Why
actually
not?
but I do admin a Facebook group that's like 380,000 people. That's like Star Wars themed.
Nice.
So
It's a big group, dude.
and I do cosplay. I do have Mandalorian cosplay stuff, but it's not exactly the 501st regulations, and I just don't bother.
So, Nick, having done both 501st regulations and just fun, what is your preference?
I don't know, man. I think I like the being able to just do your own thing, have your own spin on it, without having to get blessed off by the powers that be at the 501st, because they've been taking it way too seriously.
Yeah, that's
My favorite costume I've seen that was definitely not 501st approved. It was this person in the costume that was the costume had been designed to give the illusion of a female form, and the voice on the helmet was doing the same thing. And then the joke was when he took the helmet off, he's got a full beard, and he's like, "Hey, dude, how's it going?" Because it was a joke. I thought that was hilarious. Definitely not thinking the 501st is going to go for that, though.
It's like I'm printing Stormtrooper armor right now, and it's like with their new guidelines and stuff, I'm like, I don't even think with the armor that I originally built in 2002 would have made it. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, they're getting snooty since they've been invited into so many TV shows by Disney.
yeah. They're all Disney famous now. They don't.
They don't got time for us. The other problem with the most of those cosplay costumes when it comes to that armor is the one size fits all helmet doesn't. Like I bought one of those and I couldn't get it past my ears.
Should be used to that though.
I mean, yeah, but I was hoping because I commissioned a helmet based on the Lark armor in my reservist book, which is basically a knockoff of Star Wars in the universe. That was the original premise. It's kind of gone and done its own thing since then. But my thing was, I'll just hook a mic to this and I'll wear the helmet as my gimmick because, we talked about this with my kid's stranger danger issues and his autism. We don't show the face, but I'll get the helmet. It'll be perfect. And then I couldn't put the damn thing on because my ears are too damn big. I was like,
100 miles an hour take, dude.
Oh, so that's the trick. I got to tape them back.
Yeah.
But then how am I going to fly away?
You're going to have to tuck them, dude.
I might have a helmet that'll work.
All right, there we go.
Super wide.
Which one?
Him with the gold face. I forget his name.
Enoch?
Enoch. He's really wide. He like bobbles on my head.
Oh, from Ahsoka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is if we wanted to...
If you can fit a
Mildred in space. That's basically what he reminded me of.
So the good news with Ahsoka is that's the kind of entry-level cosplay because when they do the sword fight, it was in slow motion. So most of us normies could keep up and pretend we're just geriatric Jedi, just like they were.
Yes.
So with that, because we are polytheistic here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, Mr. Ducky, Game of Thrones, The Wheel of Time, or Chronicles of Narnia?
Okay, I've read none of them. And I've watched none of them actually, except I did see Chronicles. Well, not Chronicles of Narnia. I did watch like one of the Narnia movies.
Okay. So what's
We're
your
in the
favorite?
same boat. We're in the same boat. I haven't read or watched any of them either.
You need to explore and widen your horizon, Stabby.
I've also not read Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, so you can.
Oh my God, Nick, where's the eject button? Come on. Okay, so what's your fantasy of choice?
Star Wars.
Okay,
I like
Space
all
fantasy.
those. So.
All right. one of the crying shames of adulthood is they stop asking us this pivotal question. So we're bringing it back single-handedly. But Mr. Ducky, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Stegosaurus.
All right, Stegosaurus is an excellent answer. Jesse, we'll let you introduce yourself in just a minute. We're doing the religion question. This is important business. And finally, Mr. Ducky, because we are civilized human beings, not just knuckle-dragging troglodytes anymore, coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
Coffee.
All right, and how do you take it?
Black, just straight black, just as dark.
Like your soul.
I dig it. All right. And last, but certainly not least, before we get started, Mr. Jesse James Fain, who left work early. Don't tell his boss. He doesn't need to know. Snuck out to hang out with us. Can you introduce yourself to listeners and viewers at home?
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who have not seen me before, I am Jesse James Fain. I write science fiction and fantasy and mill sci-fi and pretty much anything that involves one of those two words. That's me. Yeah, that's the short version. Hi.
Now, freaking standing. All right, and with that out of the way, let's dive into the topic. So first, before we talk about the water monsters, let's talk about the water itself. What do you think makes water such a scary thing that some of the first monsters people envisioned started in the water?
It's the original Final Frontier, dude. It's deadly. Just by sheer weight, water can be dangerous. You get out on the ocean and you fall in, you're probably not coming back. I mean, it was terrifying. There's still so much we don't friggin' know about the oceans, man, and what's down there, because we can only go so far before we're like grape. So yeah, man, that's obvious, and it represented the great unknown for early travelers, because we didn't know how to get to other countries. We didn't even know there were other countries that we could get to. And so we strike out on these boats, and of course we're going to see weird stuff in the water. Absolutely.
I like looking at some of the old maps where they've got the Here Be monsters.
Yes.
Those
Big coiled dragons humping up through the water. I love those.
So does anybody else want to add to what Mr. LaVoy said about what it was about the allure of water that made it so terrifying?
It is the one place on our planet that we cannot adapt to, that we are not. I mean, maybe it's besides the inside of a volcano, but you can't live there. We've adapted to the desert. We've adapted to the tundra. We've adapted to every type of forest, rainforest, everything else. But you can't adapt to the ocean and live in it full time. It's not humanly possible. And it also, and I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, but the sea monsters are real. So that doesn't hurt.
Some of them, I mean, some of what they thought were monsters were just fish they didn't recognize. So yeah, some of that legit was real.
So I dropped mine in the side chat because I cannot say that word. We all know my issues. I cannot say that word, but that is my problem. That is my problem.
All right, it is thalassophobia. Thalassophobia from the ancient Greek, thalassa meaning sea, and some phobos meaning fear, is the persistent and intense fear of deep bodies of water such as oceans, seas, or lakes. And since I cannot pronounce that, I will hashtag this, and you can check it out in the show notes, dear listener.
It's the fear of not knowing what's underneath you in large bodies of water. It's that fear. So everybody, if you met anybody in my family, they'd all tell you that I'm a mermaid. I love being in the ocean. I love being near the ocean. I love being near water. My problem is I can't go more than chest deep out because I start freaking out because there could be a shark or something else underneath me, and it terrifies me to the point where I will not go farther than chest deep out. I'm the worst mermaid in the world.
Seems entirely reasonable to me.
I don't play those games. But when I never knew there was a term for it, and I was out at the beach with a bunch of our friends, and they're like, Marissa, have you ever been deep sea diving? I'm like, no. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Why would I do that? There's monsters out there, and you don't see them until it's too late.
Right.
And they are the ones that told me that there is a fear of not knowing what's under you in large bodies of water. And I was like, yep, that's it right there. I don't even need a doctor to tell me. That's it.
Okay. So, what was the first sea creature, sea monster that everyone remembered hearing about?
Sirens.
I grew up Catholic, so for me it was Leviathan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from mentioned in the Book of Job, and then second to that, and the one that I really got me interested in the things was Nessie, the Loch Ness monster.
Okay.
That was the second one I heard about, and that started the not really obsession, but I really dig water monsters now.
So, what is the Leviathan? Can someone look that up while we do this so we can say? Because I'm not sure I have an easy answer. I mean, I've heard the word.
Yeah, it's a massively
It's a sea
giant
serpent demon. Okay.
sea serpent demon described, and there's a lot of debate among theological circles whether it's God's pet or Satan's pet. But the Book of Job specifically points out that it obeys God, so to me that makes it God's pet. So.
All right, I did a quick wiki of it. This is what the Creative Commons says it looks like. So, like a water.
That's not bad. That's pretty accurate as far as the description in the Bible goes.
So there you go.
That's not what it looks like on the show Supernatural.
Yeah, no. No. They took a little license with that.
The question is, do you trust Supernatural or the Bible or Wikipedia?
We're not. No, we're not.
I'm gonna throw this out there. I'm pretty sure that sometimes Supernatural gets it right. Because there's sometimes where I'm like, that makes too much sense. Why does that make too much sense?
Okay. So, Nick, what was the first sea monster you first heard about? You're muted.
You guys still sharing a mic? That's so weird.
No, it's just they echo off each other because the room acoustics.
Okay.
So the first one I heard about, being raised Catholic, was Leviathan. The first thing I ever saw in film was the Kraken, watching Clash of the Titans. Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And then, of course, you watch enough Sinbad and the Sinbad movies, and you get mermaids and sirens and all the other stuff, when you're out there sailing. So,
All right.
Godzilla count?
No,
He's amphibious.
Yeah.
is Godzilla really amphibious or just a lizard?
He's
He
amphibious.
swims.
I mean, I swim, but that doesn't mean I'm amphibious.
You are amphibious. You just
You
can't
heard
really-
about the size of it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not.
I would argue Godzilla counts because I would say yes, he is amphibious. The entire time he's not attacking Tokyo, he's in the sea, and that's a lot of time. He only attacks Tokyo every once in a while.
Right. That reminds me, Nick. I finally saw Godzilla -1.
I have yet to see it.
Oh no, dude! You got to see it. You got to see it.
Oh, I'm behind. Yeah.
All right, Isaac, what about you? What was the first sea creature you remember experiencing or hearing about?
More or less Nessie. Whether or not cryptids count as sea monsters.
I wouldn't say cryptids count, but Nessie as a cryptid does because she kind of lives in the water.
Mhm.
So we'll count Nessie. All right, Ducky, what about yourself?
It would have to either be the sirens. I was reading a bunch of mythology books at the time, I think, and it was either the sirens from the Odyssey or Jormungand. But I don't think Jormungand is a sea serpent. It's a world serpent, but it's still a serpent, and serpents are water creatures, but not in the sea. Maybe I'm confusing it with God of War for some reason.
I think Jormungand counts because again lives in the ocean and was banished to the sea by Odin. So yeah, I count that.
What's it called?
Jormungandr from Norse mythos. Big giant Midgard serpent supposed to wrap around the whole world.
I'm gonna have to look the spelling of that one up, but okay.
It's like devouring. And
I'll put it in chat.
No, wait, that's
Thank you, thank you. All right, Stabby, what about yourself? First experience with the sea creature, sea monster, or actually water monster, because we didn't limit ourselves to the oceans.
Does everybody here know that my parents really, really hoped I would be a girly girl?
Yes.
Yeah, we've had this conversation, but go
Little
on.
Mermaid. Little Mermaid.
Ursula?
It was all of them. It was Ursula, it was Trident, it was Ariel, it was Sebastian and Flounder. It was all of them. All of them. But I'll tell you what. I was 5 years old when they took me to Disneyland, and the submarine ride was not Little Mermaid. And they had a sea serpent in there. I don't remember what they called him, but they had one in there, and he was creepy as heck. Those
Was
old
that-
Disney animatronics.
Is that the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride?
I think it was.
Yeah, with the Nautilus.
Treasure Island.
That was dope.
I want to say it was 20,000 Leagues.
Treasure Island wouldn't have a submarine, dude.
Oh,
Oh, it
remember.
was so much fun, and I remember just like I fell in love with it all. It's sad that the idea of going down that far into the ocean actually terrifies me.
Would you go down in a sub?
Not
Could you in a sub? Could you in a tub?
Not if it's run by an Xbox controller.
I mean, too soon? I don't know. It's been a year.
I don't know. I like the idea of the subs that they used in the Meg, because we all know I love my monster sharks, and I like the subs that they used in the Meg. And I was like, you know what? I might be able to get down with one of those, as long as we don't run into a Meg, because these
and the lights stay on.
Yeah. I think I'd be all right, but there's a lot of things. It's just so much fun to look into, because you have all these YouTube videos showing proof of mermaids, and it's like, is it, or is it a deep fake? Like, you have to really stop and think, could it really be? And then, maybe it could. Maybe it could. They do find weird things at the bottom of the ocean, so I mean, it's possible. I think some of the monsters are real, to be completely honest.
What's the weirdest sea creature that you've seen?
Me?
Anybody? You first. You're talking. So.
Well, hold on.
think-
Before we do that, because that's a valid segue,
Yeah.
we've got to get Jesse to see what his first exposure with.
Oh, sorry, Jesse. Man.
So I was a huge dinosaur kid, and my book that got me writing, a love of writing and reading, was Dinotopia. The second one has an underwater segment, and there's Dunkleostesis, or I don't know. I'll throw that one in the chat too. Yeah, Dunkleostesis or whatever. It's this giant parrot-jawed fish that's nightmarish, and they got huge. They got over great white shark sized. So that and Megalodon were because I was a big shark kid too, were my first ones.
I don't know that sharks would be sea monsters, but definitely a dinosaur in the water. I think we could call that a sea monster.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm gonna make the argument for sharks, because you're walking along at night and you decide to dip your toes in the ocean, and all of a sudden you don't have a leg anymore. And for humans who were not exploring or had not explored into the depths and did not have the technology that we do, that's a sea monster.
Mm-hmm.
okay. So I guess for me, I don't know if I experienced, Loch Ness, because my family's half Scottish, half German. So I don't know if I experienced Nessie or the Little Mermaid stuff, because I did have a little sister and an older sister. And so I was always outvoted. Until my little sister became a tomboy, and then we finally started watching cool stuff like Peter Pan and G.I. Joe. But before that, I was always outvoted, and so it was Little Mermaid and all the other crap stuff. That's where I learned to read, because their shows sucked. So I had to read. But yeah, so I don't know which one of those was first for me. But all right, so LaVoice, now that we got everyone out of the way, what was your question?
I was just wondering what the weirdest looking sea monster you've ever researched or looked at or encountered, if that happened.
I will go first, just because I got something off the top of my head. The people that decided that sirens weren't actually sirens, people were just seeing that, was it a walrus or something? And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, that does not make me want to make more babies, which was what sirens were supposed to do. That was the allure. So I'm like, I don't know how long you have to go out to sea before that looks attractive, but I've apparently not been out that long. So that would be it for me.
JR, didn't we just have a talk about the difference between a mermaid and a siren?
No, I don't think so.
I swear
I don't
we
think
did.
so.
I think we did.
No.
We'll have to go back.
This is the sirens were the ones that were so that the people think were those luring sailors to crash. They think they were actually being attracted to like this like walrus or something. And then you look
at the sea for a while. Come on.
I mean, I guess any port in the storm, but yeah, I just didn't understand the attraction. I'm like, no sane person looks at that and is like, okay.
They're probably suffering from vitamin C deficiency, scurvy, all kinds of stuff going on.
And they didn't have lens crafters, so maybe it looked
dehydration. You're gonna hallucinate a little bit, I think.
All right, what about everyone else for weird?
Somebody look up a picture of this because I don't know how to share my screen here, but there's a critter that apparently Japanese fishermen discovered that lives in the Arctic called the ningen. It'sNingen, and it's a giant humanoid-shaped water monster with like a blank white face with dark eyes, and it almost looks like an emoji. If I saw a video on it at one point, I was like, "It's the craziest looking thing I've ever seen in my life." It's even crazier than that alleged giant squid they found in the Gulf of Mexico.
You drop the spelling in chat, and I will dig up a picture.
Cool. All right, I'm on it.
All right, and I'm gonna pull up the.
It just I ran across it. I was doing some research. I was like, yeah, krakens, mermaids, giant squid, yeah, all that. Yeah. See, but the one that I saw, it had its mouth closed, right? And so it had a much rounder head, and it basically looked like an emoji with teeth.
Like a sea golem.
Why does he look like the lady from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark from the Red Room?
Oh, you're right. He kind of does. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
It's a werebeluga.
Oh, what's that Big Hero 6? It looks like it could be like its cousin.
It's Baymax.
That's Baymax. The
underwater Baymax. Cannot swim.
All right, and Stabby found this one, and she said it is a mosasaurus. I don't know the context, but she wanted me to share.
Mosasaur. Wow, cool.
It is a dinosaur, JR. It is a swimming dinosaur. By the way, T-Rexes can swim too, but it is just a water monster dinosaur.
They cannot swim because they got those tiny little arms.
They lizard paddle.
They do it all with their tail and their back feet.
All the other animals feared the T-Rex.
All right. So does anyone else have weird sea creatures?
Wait, was it a Leopleurodon? I looked away.
What was that?
Was that a Leopleurodon? I looked away and I looked back and I saw the image for like a split second.
Oh, it was a mosasaurus.
Oh.
Okay.
Creatures, right?
Yep. So real quick, Ducky, give me just a second while we do the correction before everyone forgets. So it was a walrus or a manatee. I was wrong. Thank you for that correction in chat, James. Next time, just jump in, interrupt me. We're good. And again, they were, as he pointed out to sea for 4 months with no women. So anyway, all right. So yeah, that was a mosasaurus, Ducky. But what was the strangest one you've ever encountered in your research?
Platypus?
I don't know that I'd call it a monster, but
I mean, they're kind of like sea.
Platypus. You've heard what Robin Williams said about those, right?
No.
Said a famous philosopher once said there is no devil, it's just God when he's drunk. So if God gets drunk, you think God gets stoned once in a while? Look at the platypus. I think so. So if God's up in heaven going, okay, let's take a beaver, put on a duck's bill. It's a mammal, but it lays eggs. It was wonderful.
Oh, and it also has venom. It also has a venom.
This is true. They are venomous.
For whatever reason. I think my next
Stabby really approved of that for some reason.
About that, we're going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly shill for the man, and then we're going to jump right back into talking about these wee beasties. Boom!
There's a thin wall between our world and that of the Fae. The passions and emotions stirred by violence and combat bleed over, and the supernatural often awakes from long slumber to meddle in mortal affairs. There have always been those among us willing to meet the supernatural threat. They are the men and women of Joint Task Force 13. They hold the line between heaven and hell. JTF 13 from Three Ravens Publishing. Available on Amazon.
All right. Thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. Now that we got that out of the way, we're going to get back to talking about these monsters of the deep. So, does anyone else have ideas for some of the scariest ones they've encountered? Or not scariest, excuse me, the strangest before we move on to scary?
Nick.
Nick's not a water monster.
I will bet you 10 freaking dollars he is, because I'm telling you what, 1 second he's standing right next to me, chest deep in water. Next thing I know, he's on the beach.
He's got webbed toes. That's all. That's common. Dan Aykroyd has the same thing.
He's gone. He's just gone. And I'm sitting there like, did something pull him under? What happened? And he's all
checking for
hi,
gills.
Babe. Hi, babe. Nick.
All right. All right. With that, maybe that's just because he took his shirt off. I don't know. All right. So, what does everyone think is the scariest sea monster they've ever seen when they were reading or researching, whatever? In real life, I don't know if you've seen one for real.
I know the mer people from Cabin in the Woods were horrifying.
Oh, that's right. They look like less like Little Mermaid and more like, I don't know, alien lizards.
They will F up your world.
What about you, Jesse? You've been quiet tonight.
For scariest, I would vote the Lusca, which is like a kind of a Caribbean mythos, and it's basically a sharktopus, and that's nightmarish because it's sharks are bad enough on their own. Being in the water was something that's the apex predator of the water is bad enough on their own, and then you give it grabby hands on top of giant teeth and claws, or not claws, giant teeth, and that's just horrendous to me. And the ability to at least limitedly come on land.
Okay. Anyone else got anything scary they want to add? No?
Platypuses don't have stomachs.
What's that?
Platypuses don't have stomachs.
I did not know that.
I just thought that was interesting. Carry on.
Octopuses randomly punch fish just because.
I'm going to do it again, too.
That is good to know as well. They probably had it.
The Kraken was terrifying when I saw Clash of the Titans for the first time. Just the scope, the size of the thing, and then of course the Meg was like, oh, that's a really big shark. I like the idea of being an apex predator myself. I don't like the idea of being, fish food.
So I've been doing some research for a book I'm writing with Jenna S. Brown, whatever personality she is today. It's hard to keep track. We need to get her like a color-coded bracelet so we know who we're talking to today, just so we can kind of track. Well, maybe not color-coded, maybe numbered because I'm colorblind. But anyway, we've been doing some research on Celtic monsters and the Irish banshee, which looks different than a siren and a regular banshee. And oh my God, that is terrifying. I don't think there's enough beer in the world to make me try to hit on her at a bar. I'm just saying.
Any port in a storm, man.
But yeah, so that's a frightening one. The other fun one is we haven't really talked about is the monsters that are monsters, but part of their allure is they look not attractive. They look cute and cuddly, like a water kelpie, which somebody mentioned in the pre-show. You look at the picture and like, oh, that's cute, and then it eats your head.
Yeah, same with sea lions. They look like water dogs, but I ain't going to go anywhere near them because they will mess me up.
Wait, no, they're small, right?
Sea
No.
lions? No.
They
Yeah.
look small on those nature shows, but you get them in perspective, and they're freaking huge.
When they're laying on the deck of your boat and they completely take over they're more than the width of the beam, which on our boat is 8.5 feet. And they just look
Okay.
at you like, square up, let's see what's up. I'm like, nope, you're good. We'll just work around you.
I mean,
Anyone else
just
got,
the regular sea creatures are scary enough, man. I mean, I saw a movie once as a kid called Orca.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you remember that one? Where that
Yeah.
thing just ripped their whole leg off and just swam off with it. I'm like, ah! And now they're
They made all those
great
movies
whites wash
after
up on the
Jaws.
beach. Yeah.
So then we're hitting back to an important distinction that we have to talk about then. We talked about sea monsters, and I'm thinking like, things that may or may not exist. And we keep coming back to actual sea creatures that are just scared by the nature of being predators. That's the line?
It came from. You got to think
Where's
that's
the line?
the origin of the lore.
All right, Stabby, you've got a question. You raised your hand.
Seriously?
Humanoids from the deep.
Oh, they were rapey.
They were grapey.
What is this, a movie or what?
I put it in the chat for you so you could see what they look like, but they did dirty things, bad things. They were not good sea monsters.
Things that would violate the terms of service on our viewing platforms. I got you.
So much grape.
All right, I'm gonna pull these up. Give me a second. And anybody else want to fill the air?
Creature from the Black Lagoon was great.
To answer your question, Jared, why we're going to creatures that actually exist, because these were the basis of the lore from when we first started setting sail and going out into the big blue and seeing all this weird things, these weird creatures, and didn't know what they were because we've never seen them before. So like, it just justified our fear of the water. Like, hey, look, I told you there was a monster out there. So between giant,
listen to me.
Yeah,
This is
guy
the
right here.
creature from the lagoon, right?
Creature
Yep.
from the OG.
Creature from the Black Lagoon? Heck yeah. Man.
Killer octopus.
cosmetic name in college.
And what is this?
I don't know, but it's scary.
That is the humanoid.
Oh, the humanoid from the deep?
Mm-hmm.
Like the fishmen.
Dirty things.
Yeah, that's what they were. And their whole thing is that they could somehow their DNA would mix with human female. So like the whole premise of the movie is them coming out from the depths and killing all the males and then trying to have their way with the women. It was weird.
Just
Lovecraft's
like the deep ones
Dunwich
in
horror.
Lovecraft.
Oh, it's definitely Lovecraft-esque.
Okay.
Doesn't Cthulhu come up from the depths of the sea?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
I'm just showing at this point as we talk random monsters I found on. That one actually looks like it might play a main game of poker. I don't know. I'm saying that one might be cool to hang out with.
That's Mr. Steal Your Girl right there.
What's that?
That's Mr. Steal Your Girl after you steal your money in poker.
Yeah. This is a classic sort of sea creature monster.
Looks like
Oh, look,
water
it's a mermaid. Oh, it's
Looks
a mermaid.
like water
See?
horse.
Yeah.
Look what I can do.
Water Horse was a great movie. I love that movie.
So, all right. And that looks like it could be Nessie, but hard to tell.
Could be water horse.
We also, just so you know, dear listener, when we grab images, we have to use, because of terms of service and all that, we use images that are in the Creative Commons, so that way nobody can come after us for copyright violation. Even though this would technically be considered transformative use or fair use doctrine, not every nation respects the American law there, so we just cover our butts. It's all free for anyone to use. That's why we're limited on the imagery.
Transformers.
All right, so obviously the first monsters were nature, because that's what we saw, and we sort of twisted the tales. What are the kinds of sea or waterborne monsters that you think transcend cultures? I mean, like if you're talking regular monsters, you got dragons. Every culture has a version. Is there an equivalent with the sea?
Oh yeah, there's sea
Mermaid.
dragons. No, but there's sea dragons. Sea dragons are, I mean, any giant reptilian / amphibious looking critter would be labeled a sea dragon. You know, your old maps that say here there be monsters are they're really talking about sea dragons.
Okay.
I mean, you know, Leviathan counts. There was the, what was it, the plesiosaur? People would have called that a sea dragon back in the day if they'd been sailing, if there were people. I don't know if those two.
What's to say they weren't? We don't know.
I wasn't there.
Well, exactly. You know, one of the things I learned online is if you can't prove it didn't happen, that means you can't say that it did or something. I don't know. We're just going to smile and nod.
I like that.
Fact check true. We'll move on. All right. So anybody else got any ideas? Isaac, you've been quiet today. We're working on this, remember?
Yeah. Giant squids.
Giant squids. Yeah, that does transcend. You're right. That's a good one because you see that in Oriental art and even in native art here. Yeah, we'll take it. That's a win.
There's a theory out there that says squids are actually aliens.
Actually, what?
They're aliens. They are not from here.
I could see that. Yeah. All right. Anybody else got anything that's scary for him? That cross cultures?
I think
Mermaid.
Isaac nailed it with, but yeah, mermaids too. I think Isaac nailed it with like the kraken or the giant octopus / squid, and I think mermaids are a fairly universal answer as well, like Stabby.
Because we all know how horribly popular tentacles are in Asia. Why?
Moving right along so we don't lose that family-friendly rating.
Wrong show. LaVoice, wrong show.
We'll talk about the other podcast after dark. I mean,
Yeah.
after the show. All right.
All I'm saying is, with mermaids, here's my thing, and everybody's probably like, Mercy, you and mermaids. Here's my thing with mermaids is no matter which country you look at, they all have a type of mermaid. And every single one always has something in common with drowning people, with dragging them to the bottom, whether it's to keep them, to kill them, to XYZ. There's always mermaids everywhere. And they are all drawn different.
And so to get around her dyslexia, she posts copies and pastes for us. So I will read it for her. In Africa, they had the Mami Wata, which was their version of the mermaid. In ancient Greece and Rome, there were sirens and mermaids, similar theme. Eastern Europe had the Rusalki. Ireland had Meros. Southeast Asia had Suvanamachi. Don't ask me to pronounce that one. We're going to smile and nod. The Scottish Isles in Scotland had Selkies, which I don't know that I would call them mermaids because those are the ones that could take their skin off and look human or look like sea creatures.
So they were skinwalkers.
Yeah, they're skinwalkers, basically. I don't know that I'd call them mermaids.
Very specific skinwalker mermaids.
Yeah, Western Europe had the Melusine. And obviously, you know, sirens were cited all over classical literature. All of those will go in the hashtag. So if you get curious, you can look them up too, because I can copy and paste with the best of them. But all right, anybody else got any you think that transcend cultures?
Transcend cultures?
No, I think we covered them.
I think so too. All right. So do you guys have a favorite sea creature?
Nessie.
I can see that. I believe she's real, just so we're clear. What about you, Nick?
I'm gonna have to say Nessie. That's the one that's closest to being real, I believe.
You know, the strange thing about Nessie is they used to say, "Oh, it's not possible," and they'd give you a lot of reasons. And then you see creatures that we would have been believed, you know, up until we found their corpses somehow ending up in the New England area on the shorelines. We were led to believe had been extinct for 100 years or more. So I think there's more in the ocean than we know. And so it is possible, maybe, that Loch Ness somehow goes deeper, links to the ocean. Possible. Not probable, but it's not impossible as far as cryptids go. So anyway, anybody else? So Isaac, favorite?
probably Nessie.
Okay. What is it about Nessie that speaks to you?
Well, I've been doing research on cryptids for a illustration project, and in the United States, there's apparently several different relatives of Nessie, like Champ, I think, in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember every all of them, but apparently they're not just in Loch Ness.
All right, I will look up some of those to throw those in the hashtags for you, dear listener, the American Nessie. But all right, so what about you? Well, Stabby already answered. Jesse.
I was going to kind of bring this up earlier, but it just kind of didn't happen. It didn't work out. But there's some critters like blobfish that you were talking about, those things that we find like on the shoreline or whatever that look absolutely bizarre. And it's because of the pressure differences. So blobfish, like the photo you'll find if you look one up, blobfish don't look like that in their natural habitat down in the abyssal dark. They look like that because they floated up for whatever reason, or their corpse floated up for whatever reason, and the pressure differences made them swell. So I just thought that was kind of a wild or resonating thing, is that we talk about the things that you don't know down in the dark. For the one that resonates with me the most, though, I don't know if I'll be able to get it good on here, but Dagon from H.P. Lovecraft got the tattoo. So that's a big one for me. The deep ones, I think, are just a really cool, really scary kind of concept.
Okay, I've got the picture of the American Nessie. Give me a second, and I will pull that over. What about you, Stabby? Since you said I didn't ask you, we don't want to forget you.
You didn't ask me. You just assumed. You assumed I would say mermaids, but it's not. It's sharks.
Mm-hmm.
It's sharks. I'm sorry. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're everywhere. Some of them don't care if you're a human or a seal. They'll eat you anyway. And if you really think all the way back, the megalodon was there. And if there's really been sightings of him recently coming to light, that guy's bigger than a school bus.
Okay.
That's terrifying. That's terrifying. And some sources say that the freaking megalodon can also procreate by itself. So there's also that.
So what is this one that this was the Mayan carcass thing? So this is what it looks like.
No, the one they pulled up, that's some kind of recreation. That's not what they pulled up. The one they pulled up was like half rotted, and it was even more terrifying because it looked like it was about to come to life and be a zombie dragon. I sent you a link in the chat to the photo.
All right, let me see. All right, I will pull that up.
I got it. Well, I'm sending it to the chat.
Stabby got it. Stabby got it.
Stabby's quick. Stabby likes doing research.
She is the FBI. I'm just telling you, she can find stuff. This?
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Look, if you look at it, you can see on the right side. Look at those. It looks like bat wings almost.
I put a clear image into the.
It stank so bad that they couldn't take it to shore. They ended up just throwing it back. It got caught up in the nets as they were deep sea fishing, and they took the pictures. I was like, "This thing smells terrible. We can't keep it on the boat," and they threw it back overboard.
Some things are best just put back.
All right, I will show you the clearer picture that Stabby found because again, hashtag FBI princess.
Yes, that's good.
He's creepy.
Imagine that thing, unrotted, before it was unalived.
Do you? I don't know. Has anybody that does like some of the art, like their artists, their whole job is to take dead things and like use what we know and then create what they would have looked like. They do it for like dead people, for historical purposes. They do it for deceased animals. That's how we guess what the dinosaurs look like. Has anybody done that for that carcass?
No, they threw it back.
So were the pictures not enough that someone could try to reimagine it, or no?
Generally, you have to have, for that kind of forensic reconstruction, you generally have to have a skeletal frame to work from.
Okay.
That's paleontologists will do that. Crime scene investigators. There's a certain branch of forensic science from criminal investigations that deals with recreating faces on skulls, and they can be really scary accurate. I've seen a couple of like crime documentaries where they reconstructed and then they found they figured out who the victim was and they showed an actual photo of them, and it's like really close.
Yeah, the other scary thing or freaky thing is there's a whole form of that's been looking at animals that are extinct in their voice functions and been able to recreate what they would have sounded like.
And a lot of that's really big guesswork, though. I mean, it's like the raptors in Jurassic Park; those are just guesses. Another thing that, speaking of forensic reconstruction, one of the things they figured out was that a lot of these dinosaurs had feathers.
Yes,
so they've had to go rethink the whole thing about what the raptors look like, what the T-Rex look like, and Spielberg's probably kicking himself.
I don't think he cares. He's laughing all the way to the bank.
Well, that's true. That's true.
We'll do a 40-year special edition, put cuts on the dinosaurs.
Here, chicken. I wonder if that means
a photo for you, Jada.
What's that?
I dropped a photo for you.
Okay. I will grab that image. What is this picture that you're sending me?
It is a photo that NBC Boston caught on one of their cameras.
Okay.
Is it the Montauk creature?
Did they catch up Boston, Wayla?
I am pulling this up right now. Be prepared. Okay. That just looks like a shark.
That is a whale shark.
That's a big
shark. It's a whale shark.
It doesn't matter. Look how big it is. This is why we don't go in the ocean.
Do you know they have documented cases of people being swallowed by those and then getting spat up a few days later, and their hair is bleached white from the stomach acid and stuff, but they survived because they were air pockets. And so now people are going back and saying, "Hey, I bet Jonah was swallowed by a whale shark." Just to go back to the Bible thing.
This is why you do not play out there. Did you see
Right,
the kayak person that almost got eaten by a freaking sperm whale? Did you see the kayaker?
So that is terrifying.
I'm gonna mess with Stabby. Hey, Stabby, guess what? They have found bull sharks in the Mississippi River as far north as St. Louis.
Yep, that's true.
Now I can't go on a paddle boat anymore. Thanks for ruining it for us, Michael.
I used to live just outside of St. Louis. The only thought that ever crossed my mind as I crossed the bridge to go from the Illinois side into the Missouri side was, would get in that water. I used to live in Louisiana too, in Denham Springs. Same freaking question still stood. Who gets in that water?
Apparently not you. So
people in kayaks that get attacked by crocs. And I don't mean the shoe.
I mean, they're good shoes, I'm told. All right, so let's wrap this up with the classics. What is your favorite of the classics of the sea monsters or watery monsters?
Oh, Kraken, easy.
All right, Stabby.
Creature from the Black Lagoon. He is the classic. We wouldn't have the horror movies that we had without the original classics from Universal. He is the classic water monster.
Okay.
What was the creature from that old black and white It Came From Beneath the Sea movie? Was that it? That was a big tentacled beastie, wasn't it? It attacked San Francisco, ripped the Golden Gate Bridge apart.
Talking about the giant squid?
I think that's what it was. I have to look it up.
I don't know. For me, the giant squid, because I remember watching 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and that giant squid that attacked him. So for me, that's my favorite of the classics. I don't know. The sirens from the Odyssey were pretty badass too. I mean, just stick them cotton in your ears and you're okay. But yeah, what about you, Isaac? Favorite classic sea monster?
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu.
From the Call of Cthulhu.
Okay. Why do you like Cthulhu?
Again, it's fear of the unknown. Where he lives, the place where he lives in itself is scary. Much less the cults that surround him, the mythos, all the things that surround him, and what happens if he wakes up. It didn't just end with Lovecraft. People have taken that and ran with it. Where he's one of the sleeper classics.
Okay. What about you, Ducky? Favorite classic sea creature or sea monster?
Well, I would go with the sirens only because I'm so I love the Odyssey. I love the Iliad. I'm really big into Greek.
Hey, Ducky, have you been keeping up with that musical they're making about
Epic?
it? Yeah.
Yeah. I listen to that. I
So
listen to
great.
it every day.
What is
I
it?
cannot stop.
It's called Epic. It's a musical based on the Odyssey, and my daughter got me turned onto it.
Oh, my niece listens to that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, it's outstanding music. I can't wait to see it.
It's just mwah, it's so good. It's
There's a ton of animations for it too.
Okay. Okay, so the Odyssey's a good one. Yeah, I like some of those classics. I had to read them in college, and there was some of the few stuff we had to read that I actually enjoyed reading. So, all right, Stabby, have you gone yet? I don't want to forget you this time because I do all the time.
I said it.
Okay, just giving you one more chance.
Creature from the Black Lagoon. We wouldn't have horror movies that we have today without the original Universal monsters. Dracula, Frankenstein, Creature from the Black Lagoon, all of them. We wouldn't have the horror movies that we have today, and we all know that Stabby loves that. So if we didn't have those originals, then we wouldn't be where we are today with the new AI monsters, which I'm really excited to see that one. But anyways, that's a different conversation.
That's gonna be my next shirt, Stabby. My next fandom shirt's gonna be the Universal crew. Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, Frankenstein, all those guys.
All right.
I've seen some of the coolest ones actually at Universal, and they have them set up like the Brady Bunch. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
But that's the one that LaVoice asked for. But
Yeah, it came from beneath the
my
sea.
instance.
Okay, so true story. Back in the 80s, when I was hanging out with my friends in high school, I used to wear a trench coat and a fedora. And it was just like my look at the time. And so we all had B-movie night every week at my friend Kevin's house. And one of the movies that they picked was this. It came from beneath the sea. And he picked it for the express purpose of waiting for the scene where this thing starts attacking San Francisco. And this massive crowd of reporters, all wearing trench coats and fedoras, start running across the screen in terror away from this thing. And Kevin just stops moving and goes, "Look, it's the Michael LaVoice fan club. They just found out he's breaking up." It was great. So we couldn't watch the movie for about another 15 minutes. It was so much fun.
I can't judge your fedora. In the 80s, I had a mullet. So, he who lives in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Did anyone else not list their favorite classics of the sea monster variety? Nick?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with it's a toss up between the Kraken and the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Both of those were very formative in my early years as far as sea creatures are concerned. So those are my favorites. I'm gonna have to. They're tied for first place.
Excellent. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Jesse James Fain.
Well, I'm going to interpret classic in two different ways. So if I think the Odyssey and sea monsters, I actually think Scylla and Charybdis. as far as the actual like sea monsters go. But I'm a Georgia boy, and so we have two of our own like water monsters. We have the Alties, the Altamahaha, which are kind of like a river version of Nessie. They're supposed to live in the rivers and the rice in the streams and rice fields around the Altamaha River. And we're also supposed to have giant catfish.
We got those too in Kentucky. Woo.
Yeah. The rumor is that around some of the dams and things like that, that the catfish can get big enough to eat people. And we have pulled some out that were like 600 pounds. So it may or may not be true.
Those, or how do you catch them? Do you stick your arm just in there and noodle?
I mean, I'm willing to give it a crack if you want to go with me. Like, we can.
I ain't doing anything.
Try and figure it out.
Today's a good day to die.
So, another true story. I used to live in Paducah, Kentucky. They have a system of lakes there called Dam Between the Lakes. Kentucky Lake has a dam, Kentucky Dam. And so they had a problem under the dam. They had to send a team of welders down. And so they sent them down there, and they were down there a really long time, and they couldn't figure out why. It shouldn't have taken them that long just to fix this one little crack. So they come back up after their tanks start to run out of air. And they said, what is taking you guys so long to do this? And they're like, oh, it's the friggin' channel cats, man. I got to fight him off while he does the welding. We can't work together because these things are the size of school buses. So they get big.
Nice. Anybody have anything else they want to cover before we wrap up this episode about sea monsters from the deep?
Well, anyone here a gamer?
I think we all are at some point.
What about some favorite sea monsters in video games? It's not done often, but there are a few good ones, I think.
They didn't have any in Mech Warrior, so I don't know.
Oh.
Sea of Thieves has some giant squid that'll attack your boat while you're underway.
Dragon's Dogma has one that isn't just in the sea, but in like every body of water, depending on if it's deep enough. And it's called the Brine, and it's like tentacles that kind of like pull you in. But it's also like, those not amoebas. What's that thing the clownfish live in?
Anemones.
Sea anemones.
Oh, okay. I'm not pronouncing that word.
Anemone.
Yeah, that. So it's basically it has that kind of appearance, but it's all across the entire world, like ocean floor. And if you're in a deep enough body of water, it can pull you in and basically like take your soul, whatever. So, and then there's, I think my second favorite one is also but it's also like a steward of like the world or something like that. It's also like protects boundaries, whatever. And then the second favorite one is what's called the Leviathan in Mass Effect. It's they're space capable creatures, but it lives underwater and in oceans. And they were, I don't know if you guys anyone played a lot of people played Mass Effect, but
Absolutely.
I don't know how deep you guys are in the lore. But the giant spaceships that like attack mankind and like will like descend on planets and deploy a bunch of troops to, those are Leviathans that were like basically infected with a techno virus program kind of thing that like turns them to like half machine, half biomass. It like corrupts them, and so they're supposed to like go out and corrupt other things now. And I find those very interesting.
Nice. It was mentioned in the side chat that we have going on that Swamp Thing technically was a water monster. So because it did live in water, we specified it didn't have to be the deep; it just had to be water monster. So the Swamp Thing's definitely.
Then there's the Marvel version, Man Thing.
Now, Isaac, you mentioned in the side chat something about you wanted to explore more about the Kelpie. What was that? So that way people that can't read our chat.
Yes. There's research there's a lot of mimic types, like the not water things are sort of like the Wendigos. They can mimic, but there's also things in the swamp that can mimic, like the Kelpie. It's not just like the seahorse thing, but there's also this like a scarecrow type character, and they can talk, like they either cry like a baby or a woman in distress screaming, and they draw people to them. I'll save you, but then they'll wind up. The intention is to get them to drown.
Okay. That sounds scary. Mostly because dying. Anybody else have anything they want to add before we wrap this up?
Aquaman is a sea monster.
Go on.
All right, you got my interest, Pete. Let's hear it.
All I'm saying is he could be on land and in the sea. He could swim faster than any of the other fish. He can call all of the fish to him and control them to attack his enemies. Therefore, Aquaman is a sea monster.
So he was an aboleth. Aquaman was an aboleth.
Okay. I'll buy that for $1.
According to Peacemaker, Aquaman was effing fish. Just saying.
It only made me think about it because I believe it was Ducky that was talking about the brine, and as I put in the side chat, they fought against and with the brine in Aquaman, and it kind of made me think about that. I was like, I mean, technically speaking.
All right. So as we wrap this up, we're going to give. Well, first, this is the point. What is this, Nick? Before let's go ahead and give you the solo screen.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
What's that?
The villain to Aquaman.
So
Black Manta.
The Black Manta.
Okay. All right. So as we wrap this up, this is the part where I remind you, when you do read the books that you love, to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books. So do your part, people. They really do help. And with that, Mr. Michael LaVoice, we're going to go round robin. What are you writing right now? And then how can listeners stalk you? I mean, find you, follow you.
I love stalkers. Wild pigs have to eat too. So
I just got that joke.
Wait, which joke? I missed it. Is it
the pigs.
Oh, pigs. Yes. Yeah, you can find right now. I'm working on the third and final book in a series called Gladius Leaks. It's an alien invasion with a twist. We are attacked by aliens in the far future. The problem is we don't have a military anymore. We have warfare by proxy with a bunch of prima donna, television star, athlete, warrior types. It's kind of like a cross between Mech Warrior, the WWE, and the NFL. And this is our last line of defense. They have no idea what it's like to be real soldiers. They have to learn fast or we're all going to die. About 60,000 words from being done with that. And then it's off to the publisher. So that series will be coming out soon. And right after that, I'll dive into a Space Navy deal with Three Ravens' own Peter Stanley, author of the Cav Dev Cycle. And that should be fun.
Peter is an interesting guy.
He's a neat guy. I like Peter.
He's the reason we did the Space Coasties anthology, because he had some stuff in his universe. I'm like, okay, I'll host it. I've got a story to throw in there. And then every day he's like, so any update? I'm like, Peter, it's not even closing for like 2 more weeks. I can't pick stories when there's still more coming.
He and I wrote that story together. So yeah.
He is very enthusiastic.
He is. He's passionate about it, man.
That's
so you can find me. They can find me at michaellavoice.com, my website, or on Facebook, or I'm also hanging out on Facebook and Twitter or X, or whatever they're calling it this week, as that Michael LaVoice. So
not the other one, but that one.
Not the other one. That Michael LaVoice.
All right, Mr. Isaac Kraft, what are you working on right now? And then how can they find you?
Right now I'm working on plotting book 2 for the YA novel that I sent off to Three Ravens. In between that, I'm working on artwork for a collaboration for a children's book. When I'm not doing that, I've been working on a potential story involving bad mail-in wine kits and interstellar slugs. Currently at roughly 6,000 words. It could go either way, short story or long. I don't know yet.
You had me at interstellar slugs. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that you're working on?
I've
Can
been
you tell me about
sort
your
of
card game?
I've been sort of working on the card game. It's still I've worked on some second draft right now. The thing that I'm working on right now is multiple decks for this game to make them more organized, and how to figure out how to get multiple players co-opting and working together on at the same time while other turns are going on.
That sounds complicated, and there's a reason I would never want to do that. Design a game, I mean. All right, Mr. Dungeon Ducky. So, what are you writing at the moment, and then where can listeners and viewers find you? And your links will be in the show notes.
Okay. I am working on several projects at once. I've got Necromancer is publishing 2 books soon. Audiobook, ebook, and a bunch of other stuff. Then I've got I just signed The Hero is a Rubber Ducky, obviously in keeping with my name. It's a Dungeon Core story. And then I have a new thing I'm working on called Death Party Insurance. It's basically a guy who gets transported to a new world. He tries to like scam some people of like, yeah, I'll definitely go and resurrect you guys if you buy this insurance and stuff like that. Because he's trying to get money and stuff like that. Because he's apparently he gets like put in debt like extremely quickly from getting scammed himself. But then he ends up having to honor those agreements. So now he actually has to go into the dungeons and find these people, resurrect them, and go to anywhere any of these adventurers that signed with him died and find them as like a level 1 guy with no class who's like in his 30s. But he's ex-military. He's got like trainings and stuff like that. And he has, he's not incompetent. So it's a bunch of stuff.
That sounds interesting. I am curious, so that's a start. All right, Jesse, what are you working on, and then how can listeners find you?
I too am working on a lot. I'm working on the novel sequel to Dead Wolf, which is my Necromancer Green Beret series, which will hopefully be published sometime this fall. It's going to be out at some point. I don't know when that's going to hit. I have a Mill Sci-Fi story in my Children of Fire universe from your Contested Landing anthology that involves dinosaurs. Really excited about that one. And then I'm working on some other stories for my eventual upcoming intellectual property, which is called The Midnight Sea, which is all about basically trans-dimensional heist. And
I'm just saying, with your necromancy, undead, whatever, Green Beret, if you don't make a joke about eating snakes, you've missed an opportunity.
Oh,
Snake
give me time.
That's what she said.
See these 2 guys for all the ranger tropes you'll ever need.
So where can listeners find you online? And obviously all of that will be in the show notes.
So you can find me on Instagram. It's my full name, Jesse James Fain. There'll be a nice big picture of me for you to know it's the right one. And there's not a lot of Jesse James Fains out there. My website is outlawauthor.com. You can also find me on Reddit, posting free stories and replies to writing prompts as Outlaw Author. And you can add me on Facebook if you really want to. I will warn everybody that is a personal page. So that one's going to be a much more unfiltered version of me. But you're more than welcome to add me if you like.
And just so you know, dear listener, because he's an outlaw and Nick is a federal officer, we did have to like scrub through a VPN where he's actually at. So Nick has plausible deniability, but we got everybody covered, so we don't have to worry about anything. Nick's bosses are cool now, and we just we'll move on. So Nick, I haven't asked you this one in a while. So what are you drawing at the moment?
I'm doing some concept designs for the 1940s version of my quote-unquote mutant superhero team. That story takes place in modern times, but you got to go back to the beginning and kind of show how this team came about and why it's prevalent in the universe, the Apogee universe. So,
Okay.
Concept sketches right now.
So I am behind on my writing. I'm still working on finishing the second book, the Wargate trilogy, the Curse Brigade, that I was writing with James. Had some surgery and at the VA, and they were nice enough to share an infection with me while I was getting some stuff removed from ye olden body. Who knew bringing parts of the metal from Iraq home and your skin was a bad thing? But they were doing a scan because they wanted to do an MRI, so they do the metal detector over you, kind of pro forma, because veterans, war zones, sometimes you get hit and you didn't notice just with everything else, and they're like, holy crap, kid, you got metal in you still. So I had to have some surgery to remove the shrapnel, and in the process of that, I got a nice cold that I was out for like 2 weeks. And when you can't talk, it's kind of hard to dictate your books. So now I am back on the wagon, hoping I can make up for lost time, because I want to get this series done so we can, move on to cooler things. Because, I've always got the next idea in my head drawing my attention. And I'm like, I can't touch it yet because I got projects and publishers that I promised I'd finish things for. So that's what I'm doing. And if you want to know how you can follow us, obviously Nick and I's personal stuff will be linked as part of the link tree. But specifically for the podcast, you can find us on our link tree, linktr.ee, linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChutes, the Rumbles, the YouTubes, the Twitters, the TikToks. We list our email, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com, for professional purposes only, people. We link our Facebook group and Facebook page where all the shenanigans happen. Speaking of shenanigans, when you go over there and you reply on this episode, you should tell us what your first experience with sea monsters and what's your favorite and what the scariest. Join the conversation. We're here for it. We have, more importantly than our Facebook group, we have Madam Stabby Stab on the Instagram, Twitter, and email for all the shenanigans. Send them her way. She's here for it. She might cut you, but you'll like it, so it's cool. And we link to our website at over on podcaster.spotify.com. It's a bunch of gobbledygook. Trust me, I don't want to say it out loud. You don't want to listen to it. Go to the link tree, find us on Spotify, and when you go there, you can follow us, listen to us in audio, and support the show for as little as 99 cents a month. You can help keep the lights on. Every penny helps. These episodes are not free to produce, and we appreciate your patronage. Speaking of, you can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section this for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink until their hair turns brown. And oh, look, Stabby, your hair's already turning brown.
No, it's not.
What?
No, it's not.
Just go with it. I'm colorblind, all right? You're ruining the bit
Black
here.
and blue. It's black and blue.
That's
Well, then you
blue?
shouldn't talk
That's
back.
green.
It's technically teal, but it's fading.
Speaking of coffee, we're obviously, link is in the show notes. Podcast Grunts get you 10% off. American company, roasted in America, employs Americans. And for some of us, that matters. But speaking of the coffee brand coffee, we are recording this in August, and you will be listening to this in September. But what are you listening to as the summer fades and fall begins? What are you drinking?
We actually just
coffee.
got a new bag of coffee brand coffee. It's butterscotch toffee.
Go on. I'm listening.
Hear me out. It is so good. I can drink it black. And I like my peppermint mocha. I'm a sucker for my peppermint mocha. Butterscotch toffee. It's the perfect amount of sweetness. It's got the smoky flavor. It's so good. Get it whole bean too, so you can grind it yourself. It lasts longer. It's so good. So good.
Are we sponsored?
We are affiliate marketer of Coffee Brand Coffee, which is an American coffee company.
I still want to try the caramel churro one though.
I actually discovered a Giarelli, the chocolate company. They do. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but they also do.
Ghirardelli.
Yes, they do the drink flavors for people, for some of the smaller coffee shops. They do the flavors, and they have a churro one. So I've been drinking that in straight black coffee, and it's actually a good. I didn't think I'd like the flavor, but I tried it because it was on sale. It's delicious.
Fun fact about Ghirardelli: if you go to Ghirardelli Square in San Francisco, they you can do the tour of how they make the chocolate. And at the end of the tour, there is a coffee shop. And they drop a square of the chocolate in the bottom of the cup to melt with the coffee. And then they stick another square of the chocolate in your whipped cream on the top. Just
You're making me
saying.
extremely hungry.
It's so
See,
good.
this is why it's hard to diet around Stabby, because she's always talking about this good food and sending me all these pictures. I mean, we jokingly call it food prawn. I can't say the other word because, censors what, but I mean, like the pictures of food she sends me, I'm just saying, like, she doesn't care that I'm on a diet. She gives no F's. She just sends the pics. And
Okay,
it is not fair.
First of all, I want it to be known that the pictures I send you is me doing new recipes and creating new recipes where there's no preservatives and less ingredients and everything. So all those fresh loaves of bread that I send you are 4 ingredients.
I'm just saying, like, some people are addicted to crack. For me, it's bread. Some bread
And
pudding.
there's no sugar in that bread either. There's no sugar in it.
Carbs break down his bread, though. You're going to hurt LaVoice and his, recovering diabetic. He's like, oh, no, bread. It's not fair.
I pride myself on a lot of things. I cooked on my own tomatoes for my marinara. Like I've been super careful, and all my fruits and vegetables have been coming from my local fruits and vegetable stand that is just off of the side of the highway, because it's not all covered in all the BS. And I picked my own strawberries at the other field.
If we ever earn enough sponsorship-wise, you and I are going halvesies. There is a company that actually roasts coffee in space and they bring it back. And supposedly it enhances the flavor. In space! That's right. And supposedly it enhances the flavor. And I want to try it, if for no other reason, just so I can say I did. But then it got me thinking, we did an interview with a lady named Dante who writes like thrillers. But what's that?
Sorry. Nothing.
But she was talking, because she's a baker by trade, that weather can affect bread. So I'm wondering, like, if we made bread in space, how would that be different? I'm curious now. Like, science that out for me, right? Because that's chemistry. I wonder if it changes things if you make it.
Well, the dough just never stops rising.
Maybe. New York pizza tastes different because of the water. So even when you take the same recipe, if you make it somewhere else, unless you import the water, you don't get the same flavors.
Does it though? I mean, is it the same since they cleaned up the Hudson?
Bread that just hangs in space and consumes all life.
There we go. All right, before we ruin my diet, I'm gonna close this because we're getting dangerous territory here, and I'm gonna say thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. And since we did talk about food, I will say I have officially gone below 300 pounds for the first time in 15 years. So I bought an outfit. I take my son to church. That's his thing.
The spandex one? Is that? Oh,
yeah, totally.
Okay.
And while I was doing the churchy outfit, because apparently jeans and t-shirts frowned upon, I was able to buy it at Walmart, and that is like groundbreaking moment. My wallet was so happy I didn't spend $100 for a t-shirt because I had to buy it at the Fat People store. That's progress. So we're gonna end on a happy note. And then I'm going to drool about all the food pictures she's about to bombard me with. And I'm going to hit that end button. So thank you all for coming on. It was a pleasure. You are all welcome back anytime. And with that, we are out. Boom. No.